Hello, I'm David Bosak, and this is Part 2 Video Issues, Section D, Part 3 of my Moon Hoax series. It's a continuing series on my political news magazine channels on YouTube and Rumble. Please note, I am David Bosak, I am a real person, and I do not use AI in the creation of any of my videos. Please also note that in this video, most of the information I debate with or cite is mostly all completely from the Trevor Weaver book. I also talk about another book towards the tail end of the video, but it's mostly from the Trevor Weaver book. Okay, so let's get into it. I'm going to get more into the video issues in this particular video, so here we go. A big issue with Bill Kaysing and a lot of the other researchers about the moon hoax was the idea of fake data or fake telemetry data within Apollo 11. And it goes kind of like this. He believed, or Kaysing believed, that the numbers were faked with the Tetra A satellite. And I agree with him. I think the satellites were all used in on the faking. It almost had to be like that. This was a highly sophisticated operation within NASA to fake this. I think they had to use these satellites in on the faking. The workers were reporting numbers on a screen in mission control, meaning the numbers they were just reporting or analyzing were all fake, because all of this was faked. Kaysing is definitely right about that and a lot of other stuff. I agree with them. They were essentially reporting fake numbers. Conspiracy researcher Bart Seibrow, you may have heard of him, discovered separate communication channels with the Astros. It's all over the research, or at least some of the research. In my opinion, it's a fairly recent development within the moon hoax or the research community. The word talk order was given to Armstrong, thus bypassing mission control, according to Seibrow. I agree with Seibrow. Some people may not, but I do agree with him. This video was released to spacecraft films with the word removed. Now, I don't know if that's totally true or not, but I assume it is by logical deduction. Even if it's not, this was all faked. I personally agree with Seibrow, and I believe this was all faked. The theory is someone was in on the intercom telling the Astros what to do, like you would have in a movie. By logical deduction, I think it would have to be like this. I believe it's a lot like the movie Capricorn 1, which I'm going to talk about later in the series. This was all faked. Backup and alternative Astros were in on it, according to Weaver, telling the Astros what to do. That's probably true because it was all a movie. It's an audio chain of command or something very similar to that. That's the reality of it. The evidence of video faking is all over the videos, according to Weaver and others. I believe it was largely all filmed in slow-mo, and the videos are all faked. The photo and the videos were faked using front screen projection, or FSP, with the use of some sort of division or line in the middle, often referred to as the Kubrick horizontal. There were tons of artificial lights used on the set. I completely agree with that. That explains a lot of the wacky shadows in the photos. The real moon wouldn't look like this, in my opinion. There's strange reflections in the photos and the videos. It simply does not add up. There's also very odd behavior of Astros throughout the entire Apollo program. In pre- and post-press conferences of Apollo 11, it looks a lot like deception. The Astros acted very weird or odd, or like they didn't want to be there. There's a lot of odd statements there. And when you look at the totality of the evidence, like in any criminal case, it looks like a hoax. Peter Hyatt, a statement analyst, claims that Armstrong verbally and psychologically distanced himself from the moon landings as early as 1970. This was based on a 1970 interview. And I agree. I believe what Armstrong was actually doing was dropping hints as early the day he was supposedly on the moon that this was all faked. In fact, I talk about it in previous videos. He was dropping hints because he couldn't directly admit it for all kinds of speculative reasons. But he was admitting it through implication. I'm a lawyer by trade, and trust me, he was admitting it through implication. I believe Buzz Aldrin is also doing this to this very day. I can't prove it, but that's my theory in interpreting his odd statements to kids and all over the media and adults. He is admitting it, that it was faked through implication and through odd statements from time to time. I can't prove it, but that's what I believe. That's my interpretation of his opinions. According to Weaver, NASA could fake it again. He talks a lot about this at the end of his book, and I agree with him. Modern film production may allow a new hoax to be almost impossible to detect. I don't think anything's impossible to detect, but he's right, it would be a lot harder. In fact, what you see from NASA now may all be faked. I really don't know. They may have the technology, they may not have the technology. I would take anything these people tell you with a grain of salt, especially after you watch my videos. Tougher to detect, but not impossible. VXS and CGI could be used. I know quite a bit about CGI from being a film buff. One example of this would be the film Gravity, according to Weaver. I've never seen the film, but I'll take his word for it. It would blow your mind the type of technology they now have, at least in movies. There's a fake reality of Mars. Yeah, Weaver is probably right about that. And I'll tell you why real quick. In my opinion, Mars could be faked because it's a continuous feed or something like that that's all controlled by NASA. It's very limited footage, all controlled by Central Command within them, and you're not really seeing much. It's very repetitive and very de minimis. Could also be faked. It is possible. Is it? I don't know. That's up to you. He thinks NASA should admit it or travel in space could be ruined for decades. In my view, he's probably right. I also think it may not even matter because in my professional opinion, based on all the research I've done, I don't think we have the technology to go that far in space. So therefore a lot of this or almost all of it is all being faked anyway. I don't think we can go that far in space. So a lot of what they're telling you is not true. We simply don't have the technology and never did. A lot of it doesn't add up. Why can't we see stuff left on the moon from Apollo 11? A key question. It's not visible with telescopes, contrary to popular belief. Also, how did 64 kilobytes of memory get us there? Now it would be less power than the typical cell phone. Back in 1969, none of this adds up. We can see galaxies but not stuff supposedly left by Apollo 11 on the moon, according to Lagarda on page 4 of her book. She brings up a great point. None of this adds up. We can see craters on Pluto, but no items on the moon according to her. She's correct. She even believes in the moon landings, I believe. But she brings up great points about the official story. None of this makes sense or adds up. How can you see far in space, way out there, but you can't see this stuff on the moon? Makes no sense. Every nation tracking the LM through radar just got duped like everybody else did at the time, or a lot of people did at the time. It proves nothing. Individual governments can also be duped by slick propaganda. Anything can be faked. Why was the footage limited and unclear? I'll leave that for you to decide. A lot of this does not add up. It doesn't add up whatsoever. And she brings up a lot of good points in her book, early in the book. And this is somebody that largely agrees, in my interpretation, with what she's saying with the moon landings. And she questions a lot of this all throughout her book. Okay, I'm going to talk about next week's videos before I wrap up here for this week. Next week's videos, I'm going to talk about the flag problem, the faking of lunar rocks or moon rocks, and I'm also going to talk about other high-end fakery that was used in faking the entire Apollo program. Because of the flag issue, it will be a highly interesting video next week. The proof, my friends, is blowing in the wind. Please make a note that I am David Bosak, I am a real person, and I do not use AI in the creation of any of my videos. My name is David Thomas Bosak or David T. Bosak, and you can Google all kinds of information about me on Google, such as being a politician, a political activist, and a former candidate for office in the state of Michigan. There's information about me and my resume on there. There is also a detailed biography about me as a published author on Goodreads.com, along with one of my blogs on Goodreads.com. I also have 6X or Twitter accounts on various public issues. On most of these entities, I do get into my personal opinions. There's a few situations like my news feed where I don't. If you want more info that's detailed, take a look at Goodreads.com about me. Once again, thank you for your time. Thank you for your consideration. I will see you again next week. It's free to subscribe.